This week's episode of The Graveyard Shift is brought to you by Ivan K. Ivan is a fan of the show, and not only did he suggest this week's featured movie, but he also recently became a Patreon donor. Ivan, we really appreciate what you've done. It's because of fans like you that we can even do this show, and we are eternally grateful. We have no problem taking both your suggestion and your hard-earned money. Thank you again for that. If you'd like to support the show, like Ivan, by either making a Patreon donation, suggesting a movie, or some other way, we'll tell you how you can do it at the end of the episode. And now, let's begin. My name is Sheldon, and this is The Graveyard Shift, horror with Sheldon and Mike. Welcome to episode 5 of the Graveyard Shift Horror Podcast, where each week we watch a movie from the horror category and chop it up into delicious bite-sized pieces. We'll talk about the plot, some production stuff, plus some other fun, horrifying stuff that we can cram into 1 hour. And yes, I said we because I never work the Graveyard Shift alone. Please say hello to the axe to my homicidal maniac, my co-host, Mike.
Greetings.
Mike, how are you, buddy?
Well, I just came off watching our movie. It is deeply disturbing in all the right ways and also very protracted. Mm-hmm. So I feel exhausted, but spent in a good way.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, this one's a classic for a reason, for sure. And so I'm feeling pretty excited, and not only because, we got to watch a good movie for this episode, which was a pick by our very first Patreon, Ivan. So, Ivan, thank you very much for that. We owe you twice, buddy.
Thanks, bud.
But also because we've got some pretty good and exciting announcements for the end of the episode. Don't you agree?
Oh, definitely.
Something we've been hoping to see to fruition for a while now, and we finally looks like we've got a handle on it. So, can't wait to tell you all about that. But as for now, Mike, why don't you tell them what this episode is all about?
Today's episode is entitled, He Axed for It, because we watched The Shining.
Yes, we sure did. Based, of course, on the Stephen King novel. This was directed by the legendary Stanley Kubrick. His movie resume is just ridiculous. So many movies on that list that are considered classics. Gotta ask you, Mike, what's your favorite Kubrick movie?
I haven't watched enough Kubricks because one of the first ones I watched in my memory to completion was 2001 Space Odyssey, and that movie bored the fuck out of me, except for the iconic scenes, like when the computer goes nuts.
Yep.
But, there's probably a good hour and a half between the monkey clobbering another monkey and worshipping the monolith, and Dave going on a killing, and Hal going on a killing spree.
Yeah.
There's probably like an hour and a half of nothing. It's just like, oh, we're in the future. I can walk upside down on this thing because there's artificial gravity on this ring. And I'm Dave and I'm fixing up a computer, and then it goes nuts and starts sucking people out of the airlock. But there's like an hour of shit in between. And then there's stuff afterwards. Like Dave or whoever it is that goes to the end, and all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, there's lights in the universe, and then I turn into a big space baby or something. Like, I don't know what the frig this movie was supposed to be, but I'm pretty sure Kubrick could have made it a lot more interesting.
So, are you saying that it wasn't a bad movie, but there's lots of things that could have been cut out?
Yeah. If there was like a fan edit of like good stuff on this would have been like a nice 45-minute featurette.
Yeah, those sentiments might come back. We might hear something like that in a little while.
Yeah. And Dr. Strangelove, I remember seeing, I think I tried to see all of Dr. Strangelove, or I was changing channels and I caught the last hour of it. That one was neat because it was like a comedy that wasn't really trying to be a comedy, yet it was. So, this Kubrick guy, he's an odd guy.
Yeah, that's he's unusual for sure.
Yeah.
I would have to say, if I've got to pick one, A Clockwork Orange would have to be mine. That I've seen a few, like you, like I haven't seen everything, but if I got to pick one, yeah, that would be my sentimental favorite, I guess. With The Shining being a close second.
How was the pacing in Clockwork Orange? Like, I know that there's scenes like where Roddy McDowall goes nuts and attacks some place, and then he gets put in the machine. And, like, what about everything before, between, and around that? Like, how's the pacing?
It's a little better. There are some slow spots, like most Kubrick films, but it was a little better. I got to tell you, about a few years ago, my former team manager threw a Halloween party, and she had the entire main area of her house decorated like an insane asylum, and she was dressed as a gender-swapped Alex DeLarge. She called herself Alexis DeLarge.
Huh.
It was pretty awesome, actually. She even had a, you know the big drawers that you keep bodies in morgues?
Yes.
In the coroner's office? She even had like a fake wall made to look like that, and for most of the guests that she invited to the party, she had an actual toe tag on the end of each one that with the person's name on it. Like mine had a tag on it that said, you know, my name, died from a zombie bite, and died second time 6 hours later by an axe through the head. And she had a different death for everybody.
That is awesome.
It was pretty cool. It was one of the better Halloween parties I've been at. So, this movie, it was released on May 23rd, 1980 by Warner Brothers Pictures. Filmed in the US and the UK. It had a budget of $19 million. That is the highest budget for a movie we've covered on the podcast so far.
Mm-hmm.
It had a box office return of approximately $45 million, not including home video release, of course. That also makes it the highest grossing film we've covered on the podcast so far.
By far the most successful movie we've seen.
Mm-hmm. It was given an R rating due to adult situations, strong language, nudity, and violence. And in my opinion, it had not nearly enough of any of those.
Oh yeah, there was a nice amount of nudity in this.
Yep, but
we're not at the likes yet.
Some of the nudity is not what you wanted to see.
Yeah, well, we're not the dislikes yet either.
It had a Rotten Tomatoes score of 87% for critics and 93% for audience, so people really liked this one. As for the plot, a writer takes a job as the caretaker of a hotel with a violent past. He moves his family there for the winter when an evil and spiritual presence influences him into violence, while his psychic son sees horrific, foreboding images from the past and future. So, it stars Jack Nicholson, and do I really have to say anything about Jack Nicholson? I mean, come on. If you don't know who Jack Nicholson is, then you're obviously an asshole.
Yeah, it's Jack at his best. I mean, like, if you want to know, like, why does Jack Nicholson always get associated with being like a Looney Tunes creepazoid? It's because he's made for roles like this.
He really is.
The disturbed man who's always on the edge of just really fucking ending everyone around him. Like, all he needs is a reason.
Nobody plays crazy like Jack Nicholson.
He made it his own. It's just like other people try to like act crazy. Jack has to act normal.
Yep.
That's his acting.
So, it also stars Shelley Duvall, whose other works include playing Olive Oyl in the live-action Popeye movie.
She's really got the body and face for it.
Have you seen that movie?
I saw pieces of it when I was a kid.
With Robin Williams?
Yeah, it was a thing. It was a sight.
It is something, man. Oh, I actually I saw it as a kid, and I remember thinking as a kid it's kind of weird. And then I saw it maybe about 5 years ago, and I said, "This is why would somebody think this was a good idea?"
Oh, you mean it wasn't a smash? It wasn't a sterling success?
No, definitely not. Okay, so it also starred Danny Lloyd, who played the son Danny, and he has done very little else since The Shining. In fact, if you look at his IMDb career, most of the things he's done after The Shining are related to The Shining, like involved in documentaries and things. So, yeah, acting wasn't his thing. It also stars Scatman Crothers, who has quite a lengthy career. There's so many things we could talk about, but I'm going to say I knew him best as the voice of Jazz from the original Transformers series.
Oh, yeah.
And this, of course, was actually the second film he did with Jack Nicholson. They were both in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Now, that's a good movie. Have you ever seen that?
No, I haven't.
If you haven't seen it, check it out. It is good.
That's why I hope this podcast will get me to kick my ass to watch some new old movies.
So, I think I mentioned earlier, but this movie was based on the classic Stephen King novel of the same name, and he fucking hates this movie. Kubrick's script made some big deviations from King's story, and he fought hard to have these changes removed, but of course, it didn't work. And apparently, there's a story I've read this on the internet. I have no idea if it's actually true. Apparently, during the beginning of the filming of this movie, Stephen King was on set quite a bit, and that's when he first, saw some of the changes. And that's when he started fighting to get these changes removed. Kubrick said, no, if you told the producers, if you try to, get me to change my script, I'm walking off the project. And so they buckled to Kubrick and they told King, sorry, you signed the rights of the book to us, the movie rights, and it's Kubrick's call. And basically Kubrick had King removed from the set. And just to put a little fuck you to King, to like a little, almost like he put a little note there to make sure that King knew that this was my movie, not yours. In the book The Shining, the family moves to the hotel in a red car. I think it was supposed to be a red Volkswagen. Now, in the movie The Shining, the family is driving to the hotel in a yellow car, and they actually have to stop for a little while because there's an accident on the road where a red car has been smashed to pieces by an 18-wheeler. That was literally like a little middle finger in the face of Stephen King by Kubrick. So, wow. Pretty awesome. We could almost base like the entire episode on just some of the things Kubrick has done.
Oh yeah, this guy is like, from what we've seen, he's like the Antichrist of Hollywood.
Yeah. We're going to have something to say about that. But anyway, Mike, how about we just dive straight into this one? Do you want to start off with likes?
My first like is the big wheel scene with Danny just cruising through the hotel on his little tricycle.
Mm-hmm.
And when he bumps into the twins, and like he's seeing like their ghosts asking to play, but then he also sees like the truth of like what happened to them.
Yeah.
And like seeing them alternate between, oh, we're still alive, come play with us, and that he's seeing the truth like, oh fuck, they got wrecked up good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very disturbing beginning to let you know that, like, this hotel isn't just like sending one message, it's like trying to send like all the messages at the same time. It's like these kids were here, they did want to play, and they also got chopped up by Psycho Daddy.
Oh, I got to tell you something as well. The first Halloween that we spent in our house, me and my wife bought this house about 2 years ago, and the first Halloween that we were here, we threw a Halloween party, and my wife and her sister actually were the twins from The Shining. They were adult versions of them, of course. It was pretty cool. I'm going to have to show you a picture later on.
Oh, man, that should go up on the Facebook.
Yeah. I was tempted to be like, to dress as Danny and actually get a big wheel and ride around at the party. But instead, I was Captain Hammer from Doctor Horrible, Single Month Block.
An acceptable choice.
Yes. So, as for me, I just want to start off with my likes by saying the story was great. It was very tense, very surreal. They did a great job of conveying Jack's madness, and it had a great psychological effect. I really don't know if the things Jack was seeing was really happening or it was just him suffering from a massive bout of cabin fever. I know like the thing that the psychic abilities of Jack and Dick, that was true, but we really don't know if this place was actually haunted.
You mean Danny and Dick?
Danny and Dick, what did I say?
You said Jack.
Oh, jeez. I'm an idiot. Don't listen to me. But yeah, like, we really don't know if Jack was actually seeing any ghosts or anything, or if he just went nuts.
Well, yeah, for the first hour... Yeah, for the first hour and a half, we do wonder, is he just being plagued by things?
Yeah.
But then they actually interfere with the physical world and release him from the freezer.
Yeah, so that's true. Yeah,
that's how we realize now that he's not just hallucinating, that he is in fact being influenced by supernatural forces that can affect the real world. So that was a nice confirmation. It's like, no, that's not just a family of schizophrenic people who really need to up their beta blockers. There are ghosts here, like supernatural remnants of the past.
Yeah.
And they can influence the present world.
Yeah, see? I only watched this movie, I've watched it a few times, but most recently about 3 days ago, and I already forgot that part. So...
A critical part that shows that the ghosts are in fact real.
You should have just asked me without saying anything. You should have said, "Hey, Sheldon, how did Jack get out of the freezer?" And I would have been like, oh yeah. Never mind.
Okay, well.
Well, that leads into my second like. I just got to say this. Jack Nicholson. Like I said earlier, nobody does crazy like him. He was fantastic in this. He improvised a lot of his lines, even the most famous line and probably one of the most imitated lines in movie history. "Here's Johnny." That was all Nicholson. And in my opinion, this was probably his best performance.
Yeah, and that ties in with my second like, which is that it took an hour before I stopped seeing Jack Nicholson disturbing and started seeing Jack Torrance disturbing.
Yep, I know what you mean.
And my third like was when he's at the bar, and that whole drinking scene was just perfect, where it really shows the fractures that are in this seemingly perfect family.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when at one point he calls his wife a sperm bank.
Yeah, he does.
I'm like,
what a shithead.
Wow. I mean, like, you really don't think much of your wife. I mean, like, she is Shelley Duvall, so it's hard to really say, like, oh, she's so beautiful, but, I mean, like, really? You're gonna call her that?
Mm-hmm.
So what was your third like?
Well, just the look of the movie itself. The imagery made me actually feel claustrophobic and uneasy, which even made me felt more connected to what the characters were going through. The whole cabin fever thing is what I mean. It's no wonder that some of the scenes in this film have become so iconic and so parodied, because probably the best parody of The Shining was on The Simpsons, Treehouse of Horror.
The Shining.
The Shinning. You mean Shining. Shh. You want to get sued? Yeah, it's just...
Anytime you want to talk, anytime you need help, you just call. Except for after 11. That's Willie's time.
Oh my god. But yeah, apparently, and Kubrick, this was no coincidence, because Kubrick actually designed the sets to make it feel that way. He designed it in a way that the layout of the hotel was impossible. Like, there was windows in places that there couldn't possibly be windows. There are rooms that should have a window because they should be facing the outside grounds, the front grounds of the hotel, but there were no windows. And yeah, I literally feel uneasy when I'm watching this movie. So very effective.
Yeah, it's like the hotel is constantly shifting to throw even the viewer off,
Yeah.
so that nothing can be remembered because this thing is just shifting, ever shifting, and we are trapped with Jack in this hotel.
Yep. So what about you? Anything else on your likes list?
Well, yeah, two of them tie together, which is Dick. He has some lovely paintings in his house. As he's watching the news, he's got these lovely paintings of beautiful naked black girls, like The Supernatural Dream, which is hanging over his television set, which features the lovely Azizi Johari, who later on was a Playboy model, and boy does she count as a friggin' model, because this girl is just absolutely gorgeous with a massive afro. It is just fantastic, and he's got this girl over his bed. I don't know if it's kind of like Pam Grier, but like blacker. And I don't mean like she possessed more African American qualities. I mean like her skin was blacker. Like this girl was like black, ebony goddess. So he's got some, I don't know where he gets his paintings, but they are sexy. And the second thing that follows through is Jack's hallucination scene, where he's seduced by the hotel,
Oh yeah.
which takes the form of Leah Bedlam as the bathtub girl.
Mm-hmm.
And she is just, she's not even an actress. She is just a model who was told to like get out of the bathtub, be naked, and make out with Jack Nicholson. And she's just like, okay. And this was just fantastic stuff. Do you have any more likes?
Well, the scene started off pretty good anyway.
Yeah, it started good. We'll get to the dislikes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention one more for my likes list. Danny Lloyd, the kid, he actually did a pretty good job for a child actor at that time.
Yeah, especially when you consider that he didn't even know he was in a horror movie.
That's right. That was actually kept from him. As far as he knew, he was just in a movie about, this kid that went and stayed at a hotel with his parents.
And went through a seizure.
Yes. I honestly think he did a better job than Shelley Duvall did.
He's easier on the eyes than Shelley Duvall too.
Yeah, and so we'll get into Shelley Duvall in a bit.
Yeah, but
so anything else for your likes?
Yeah, my final like was the bat scene where she finds the typewriter, and we get to realize all this work he's been doing he's not like recently going nuts. He has been nuts pretty much since the beginning, because he's typed out 50 pages, which all say in distinct words, like these aren't Xerox copies. These are all different typesets of all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Yep. And it's just written over and over again in descending paragraphs like a pyramid, and then in full page spread, and it's like there's different keystrokes missing or typos, so it's like just like somebody who was just made to type at this, and they had a typist do this. A secretary just spent like hours just typing out all this shit, 50 pages.
Yeah.
And we get to see Shelley Duvall flip through this, and we realize that Jack has been off the rails for quite some time. And then when she comes to speak to him, she wisely holds onto the bat to keep him from a distance. And Jack shows that he is beyond any hope of redemption. And I mean, like, I don't know if it's to Kubrick's credit or not, but we can see not just Wendy is scared of her husband, but we can also see Shelley Duvall terrified of Kubrick.
Yeah.
Because this is the scene that he made her do 127 times.
Jesus.
127 takes. And he did it just to get a frazzled, fraught, and distraught reaction out of her.
It worked because it was probably her best scene.
I don't know if she can even watch it anymore without her hair falling out.
Yeah, really.
Which it actually did happen. Mm-hmm. By the end of the shooting, she offered him pieces of her hair that had fallen out from stress.
Yeah.
So, and like he was so nice to little Danny, and it's like he took out all of his malice on her. But it was all because he wanted her to play like a woman at the end of her absolute rope.
Yeah.
And that's what we got. So that was a big like. Although I'd like to see like what her first take was, and see how that really differed from the last take, because I mean she is like a competent actress. So
I hope there's some kind of bonus out there, like some kind of documentary or like some kind of DVD or Blu-ray bonus where all 127 takes on a disc.
So a Shelley Duvall super montage.
Yeah, I would definitely watch that.
It would be neat to see if she's actually like somewhat scared and upset in the first take, and then by the 50th take she's like annoyed and swinging the bat, and then by the 100th take she's like quivering and shaking and she's just all fucking frazzled to shit.
By 127 she actually like lunges after Kubrick with the bat.
That's where they made Jack grow the beard, so that she would remind him of, so that he would look like Kubrick to her.
Okay, so is that it for our likes?
Yeah, I'm out of likes.
Me too. So,
I'm all out of likes. What else can I do?
On that note, let's dive into what we didn't like.
Okay, why don't you kick us off with what turned you off with this?
And I got a feeling you knew that this was coming for me. First, for my dislikes, this movie is too freaking long. There was no need of this. It was 2 hours and 26 minutes. So much unnecessary filler. It completely shatters my runtime rule. I've mentioned it already a couple of times. You know, that sweet spot, 90 minutes to like 110 minutes is plenty for a horror movie.
Yeah, 90 minutes to 2 hours. That's the spot. And this movie just said, fuck the spot.
It really could have been cut down a lot. While overall I love this movie, but it really does drag in places.
Yeah, it could be trimmed. Like I bet you there's a fan edit of this, which is like a tight 90.
Yeah.
Or just like an hour and 45 minutes, where you're not bored or anxious or anything, and you're not really missing anything.
Yep. I'm like honestly tempted to get you to do it sometime. Just take this movie and I'm gonna tell you what to cut out. Just need to get some money to pay you to do it.
If we can get enough money on the Patreon for a website, we could actually host that and share this creative vision between us with everybody. Wouldn't you like that, listeners?
That's www.patreon.com/graveyard.
And to quote Sally Brown, just send 10s and 20s.
Okay. So, how about you? What did you have for your first dislike?
My first problem with this movie was right from the beginning, the credits.
The credits?
Yeah, like that light blue font as everything scrolls up, making it look like a 70s TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it would have been nice if something popped on the screen, or like some sort of like designed font or something. And the fact that everything came up just dull, and it didn't even lead with Jack Nicholson. It's like starring blah blah blah, and it's like, and then like overhead shots. Like this was like a thing from the 70s, which bugged me. It's like everybody just thought, you know what? If we attach a camera to a helicopter, people are gonna love these shots.
Every single horror or thriller movie that was filmed in the 70s has that shot.
Yeah, it's like following the car along an isolated American road. It's like, we get it. America's filled with nothing. Just like these credits.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because when you said I didn't get it, but as soon as you start talking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that was actually annoying. The
fonts are just like robin egg blue. No horror, no presence. Like they don't have to all be dripping with blood or made of bones, but I mean, like, have some style in the font.
Yeah.
as well as like, and here's the big thing: they went up one name at a time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, can we just fill this up so that the credits are done? But no, this is a Kubrick movie, so fuck you. You're stuck here for about 2 hours and 20 minutes, and 10 of those minutes are opening credits.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, go to the lobby, get yourself a snack, and then fuck off.
Yep. I agree. That's a good one.
Okay, so what's your second dislike?
Shelley Duvall.
Yeah, she's not easy to look at.
Well, I don't mind that so much. I don't care. Like, that's not a big deal. Like, I'm hardly anyone to judge someone else's looks. But even though she did have her moments, not exactly a stellar performance from her. Like, no matter what she was doing on screen, I couldn't take her seriously. Like, the best way I can describe her is bland.
Yeah.
You know, I
It's
don't...
like she didn't seem like a doting, loving wife at the time, because like even at the beginning when she's talking to the doctor about Danny after he has like a little episode, he's just she's like trying to smoke a cigarette and like her hand is shaking, and I'm like, okay, so she's a friggin' wreck all the time.
Yeah.
I can like I'm like instantly I'm seeing Jack's point.
Yeah, she's the type of person that I really feel uncomfortable being around.
Yeah, can you imagine being married to that, having to put up with that?
She's just nervous all the time. I always feel like, you know, that type of person's about to have a breakdown at any moment, and
yeah, you expect me to pick up the pieces and
yeah, it's just very uncomfortable. Which I guess maybe that's why, like, because she looks uncomfortable, maybe they thought that's why she would be good for the role. But it just didn't work for me. I was not pleased with her performance in this.
And another thing that bugged me right off the bat was when he was eating the sandwich, and all we see is like him doing the little finger wag because of Tony.
Oh yeah, the imaginary friend.
Yeah, when he talks to the doctor, it's like, Tony is my friend who lives in my mouth. And immediately I was just pissed off because I'm just like, if Tony lives in your mouth, why does he speak with your finger?
Nothing makes sense to kids. Come on.
Why can't you just say Tony lives in my finger? That would explain like when you're like why the finger moves, because like Tony's in control. But no, it's like I'm talking with my stupid voice. He's kind of like a Proto Cartman voice.
Yeah.
That bugged me.
Yeah, that was odd.
What's your other dislike?
Well, this is actually my last one. But, while this movie is good, I liked it. It is tense, but I'd hardly call it scary. And yes, I have been watching horror movies for a very long time, since I was very young. I know I am very much desensitized, but because I don't really get scared when I'm watching a movie, doesn't mean I don't know when something is scary.
Yeah, you can know its intent, at least.
And as far as horror movies go, when it comes to the scare factor, this one is actually pretty tame.
Yeah, like the elevator full of blood was a great
scene.
Cool,
great scene. Nothing scary about it.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, big deal. There's an elevator full of blood. Like, could you have like given us some context for it? Like, give us some context. Like, the door opens, all the blood pours out, but what's inside the elevator? Mm-hmm. Like, show us bodies that like are piled on top of each other, like that just like bled out and created like a big torrent of blood. Like what's the point?
Honestly, for me, when it came to scares, I think the scariest scene in the movie was, like we talked about earlier, about Danny seeing on his big wheel, seeing the twin girls in the hallway, because. Yeah. What's I found scary about that is that I could kind of picture it, you know, if you, not as an adult, but if you saw that as a kid, just playing in a house somewhere and you see like something like that in the hallway when you're alone. Like, he had such a great reaction to that as well. You know, the whole like panicking, covering his eyes until it was gone. Like, that is the way a kid would have reacted to that.
Yeah, that was good.
So that scene was scary. I mean, not that there weren't like sort of scary scenes in the movie, but overall, it is nothing scary about it, really.
Yeah, like, what is the hotel having a period?
Jesus Christ. Oh my god.
Yeah, so yeah, like what you said makes sense about how it takes too long, because it's like, really, here's why Kubrick can go suck an egg. Like, genius, maybe, asshole, definitely. Had to wait 2 hours for the axe scene. Kubrick is like the judo master of edging. Like, this is the scene we want to see, and I have to watch this I have to watch a movie before I get to this part of the movie.
Yeah.
And there's other things, like when we see Danny having a freaking seizure in his bedroom. I was just like, you're seeing a sexy lady coming out of the bathtub. Why are you freaking out, kid? Even if you're having a vision, you should be having a vision while, like, trying to fight off your very first erection. But then when Jack makes out with her, and then he sees like this lady with friggin' bed sores all over her back, and it is like with this decrepit old lady who's like lurching at him, and like with her, like she's obviously got her teeth out because she's got like that big gummy grin that old people have, and she's just like, and
Thanks
now it's like, now Danny's seizure makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it's like he's seeing the beginning and the ending at the same time, and he's like, Dad, don't. It's a trap. It's a trap. and another thing I didn't like was when Shelly freaks out and Jack's gone because he's off to kill Scatman. And she like tries to open up the door. I don't know why she can't, since the lock is on her side, but then she starts like slashing the door handle with the knife. And I'm like, really? She had a fucking axe.
Even in your most like petrified panic state, would you try slashing at a doorknob with a knife to get the door open?
That's, stainless steel on brass. Yeah, I'm really gonna get that infomercial style quality of, it even slices through linoleum.
Oh my god.
It's like, maybe it slices through linoleum, but I'm pretty sure brass will stop that fucking steak knife in its tracks.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Not
I mean, this is like, there's being panic prone, and then there's like mental collapse prone.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just gonna slash the doorknob rather than just turn the handle with my fingers, which are fine.
Mm-hmm.
And the final dislike was Scatman. Like, while he was a good character in a good role, as a psychic, he's fucking terrible. Because he's trying to tell Danny, like, I'm going to teach you about The Shining. You can see things out of bin and went not a bin. And you'd think if he was any fucking good, he'd be like, oh shit, I'm going to get chopped up by this cracker in the lobby. I'm going to get me a vest or bring a friend or bring a gun. It's like, no, you can see the future, but you don't.
Mm-hmm.
You're a shitty psychic. John Edwards is a better psychic than you. Okay, I'm done.
Then you said John Edwards, and it just automatically pissed me off. There's a reason why you'd never see psychics winning the lotto. Yeah. So the only thing this is not really a dislike, but I guess only something that keeps me wondering is that, the movie ends kind of abruptly. It's a great scene, don't get me wrong. Like, I mean, like the whole scene at the end, like that final half an hour is so tense, so fantastic. Great ending. But doesn't it make you wonder what happens next?
Yeah,
like how far are Wendy and Danny going to make it on that snowcat? And how is all this supposed to be explained afterwards? Like, are police going to show up and find Jack's body in the hedge maze, Dick's body in the lobby? Like, don't you really wonder what's going to happen there?
Yeah, like, where's the follow through? It's like American Werewolf in London all over again.
Mm-hmm.
It's like corpse credits.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, what the hell? It's like, aren't we even gonna cuddle after?
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Really wish there was we had some kind of follow up scene or something like that.
Yeah, the French have the word denouement, which is the after climax. Like, what the hell did they make it into town? Did the police come in? Like, do we get to see who Tony is? Like, explain some shit. Like, what happens to Dick's ghost? Does he show up as a future thing to Danny? It's like Danny's a friggin' piece of shit. Like if he can see the future, then that means he just called Scatman to deliver the car and then fucking die.
Just should have told Scatman, show up on the Snowcat and just stay outside and we'll come out and meet you.
Yeah!
Keep the doors locked.
It's like, we have these amazing psychic connections. And the guy's not supposed to be experienced at this. Like, oh, I talk with my grandma. We could talk at the dinner table with everybody else and have our own private conversation. It's like, really? You couldn't have the conversation like, my dad has a fucking axe. Bring the car outside, wait for us, and then, keep the motor running. Because we need to take off.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Like I said, I just wish that there was some kind of follow-up, something we could find out exactly what happened afterwards. It doesn't really take away from the movie. It's just my own, mind being curious.
Yeah, like with the phones down and everything, what if Stuart, the owner, he couldn't call to check up, so what if he just, showed up in the middle of winter to just, see how everyone is, and he finds, Jack's friggin' body or something. Wouldn't that be, something who finds him?
Mm-hmm. Well, I got some news for you, Mike, because I did a little digging, talked to some of my connects, and there is actually an after scene that was deleted from the original print of the movie. But we managed to dig it up. And that makes the perfect segment for this week's It Came from the Cutting Room Floor. Jeez. Damn it. I warned him this would happen, but no, he says he can handle it. But his family signed a waiver, so I won't have to worry about it anyway. Because, oh, jeez, Dick. No, not Dick.
Hey, boss, glad to see you.
What the? I just dragged your body in from the hedge maze. I thought you were dead. How'd you survive?
Funny thing that I didn't. My body's still over there. Thanks for asking about me.
Ah, spook!
Damn, that's racist, even for you.
So, you went nuts and killed your family as well? But now I got a dead Negro here. UCLA is going to have my balls for bookends.
You're thinking of the NAACP.
I didn't even know you played basketball.
Oh, so you're that kind of racist that means well.
I'm not racist, okay? I had a black friend, I guess.
We weren't friends. You were my employer. We got along. Still here, boss.
Okay, right. Well, why did you kill the chef? I didn't know you were racist.
I'm not. I didn't even see his skin when I snuck up and shoved the axe into his chest. Well, that does make me feel a little better, actually.
But why did you kill your family? You could have gone to town or played board games.
You should have sprung for a satellite dish, boss. Turns out being isolated and surrounded by all the whiteness can really affect a man. Well, I got used to it. That's funny. You're a really funny guy. Oh, so now you like me. Hey, I loved my family and I still went after them.
So, where exactly did you leave their bodies?
Now, they got away on his Snowcat. Well, they didn't get too far. I was meaning to fill it up the next day. They're probably haunting the forest now. Ha! Thanks, man. You really had my back. Well, you got my front.
Yeah. So, how are we going to explain the bodies and, you ghosts?
Well, I don't know, boss. Bodies are for the living, and the cleanup, well, that's your problem. Oh, speaking of your problems, you're also going to need a new bathroom door, and you're out of paper and ink ribbons. You're also low on flour.
Nobody's going to want to sleep in the murder hotel. What am I going to do?
Maybe Jack over here can teach seminars on couples counseling. Okay, that's not funny. It kinda is. Yeah, it is. I can't stay mad at you.
Dick, I didn't know black people were so funny. I thought Bill Cosby was the exception. Maybe you can do stand-up.
Oh, so now that I'm the all-knowing psychic ghost, now I'm funny. Maybe it's because you finally listened to me.
Hey, seminars on race relations, there you go.
I know you mean well,
Hey,
but that's an idea. We can talk about how it doesn't matter what color our skin is. We should only kill someone if they get in the way of our patriarchal duties. Progress really does come slow to you honkies. But I got shit else to do. Fuck it, I'm down. But do me one favor, Stuart.
Yeah, name it.
Just promise me if you can get the Vandals or the Supremes to perform here, or Pam Grier or Azizi Johari, you can kill them so I can get some sweet ghost booty. Maybe you can kill Parliament Funkadelic so I got some brothers to jam with.
All right, you got it.
Wow. Usually I do the research, but you really pulled out the stops this time. That was a good scene.
I followed your lead. I dug really deep. I pulled in a lot of favors from my connects out there, and I had a good teacher. What can I say?
It is good, but I can see maybe Kubrick in one shining moment of restraint and improperly, I'll add, just thought that maybe this would have made the movie run on just a little too long.
Yeah, I mean, I already complained that it was too long, so I'm glad they at least cut that out, because that was a lengthy scene, and got a little bit racist for my taste as well. So,
Really? We're gonna say that scene is racist when Jack talks to the former caretaker, and the guy actually says, "You need to take care of your son and his friend because he's calling out for help." Well, to who? And he actually busts out the N-word.
Yep.
So,
Well,
I think
that guy was from the 40s, so
yeah, that one was he didn't even think that was racist to say it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that now we're at the part where we're just we're not at likes or dislikes, but just thoughts or things that we wrote down in notes that struck us as odd.
Yeah.
Tony sucks at darts because it's not Danny playing the darts, because you would aim with your hand and then throw the dart, but he does this weird squeaky shake thing, which is the same motion with his hand that he does whenever Tony's talking. So that tells me that Tony's the one playing darts.
Ooh, that's a good point. You think maybe there's a bit of split personality going on?
It's like they're playing a team sport.
Yeah.
It's first it's Danny's turn, then it's Tony's turn.
An actual interactive imaginary friend.
Well, if it took place in spring, it would probably be a really interesting case of shirts versus skins with him on the basketball court, where he'd be trying to grab a ball and then running to put his shirt back on and then trying to block the ball, but it's already been thrown.
Oh, God.
It's multiple personality. This is where it starts to get a little thin. So, what about you? Did you have
Yeah,
any
one of the questions I had was so it's never really clarified. Is Jack, just stuck on some kind of infinite loop where he just always ends up at the hotel in a different life? Because it is alluded to that, right? You actually see him in pictures from the 1930s or something.
Yeah, 1924.
1924,
at the
1920s
July 4th
actually, yeah.
ball. And that is just this just throws such a wrench into the gears. It's and they allude to it earlier, because when he's talking with Mr. What was his name, Carver?
Yeah.
Or Graves?
Something like that. You know how I am for details.
So he's talking to him, and he asks him, "Wait a minute, you were the previous caretaker here."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Sir, you were always the caretaker here." So they allude to that in that Jack has always been in the hotel. Mm-hmm. So does that mean that he reincarnates only to die in the hotel?
And so does that mean that the two ghost girls that were murdered in the hallway, was that his daughters in a previous life? He was the one that killed them?
Was he supposed to be like Mr. Greaves or something? Mm-hmm. It just raises questions it has no ability or interest in answering.
Which sometimes that works in a movie's favor. That's not uncommon for a horror movie, especially with some kind of this kind of surrealism thriller type effect, where some things just aren't explained.
Yeah, they can throw a loop in there, but like they alluded to it in the middle of the movie. Like there's like some sort of underlying plot. Like they tied it in, and then then we got that friggin' thing. Then we got that Cemetery Man ending with the snow globes. So yeah, we get weird things in movies that make no sense, have very little effect on the plot, and they just only serve to undermine it because they take you out of what you're thinking about and just make you ask this question where you totally get distracted from the essence of the movie. So,
and a lot of it's left up to your own interpretation that way as well.
Yes, and it's so startling that it takes you, like, it's not like you're trying to incorporate it in the movie. It's like it becomes its own thing outside of the movie.
Yeah.
So to me it's a detriment. Mm-hmm. Because you're not thinking about the characters in the realm anymore. It's like you're busy rewriting the rules for this universe because of this twist that's been thrown in.
Yeah.
And the guy mentions that the girls, when they were killed, that they were 8 and 10. But why the hell did they look like twins?
I thought they were twins. I know they said 8 and 10, but like they look exactly the same to me. And the actor, wasn't it the twin sisters that they actually got to play the little girls?
They were sisters.
Oh, I thought they were twins. See,
I don't know about the twins. Like it won't specify in credits played by twins.
Yeah.
It just said it was like Lisa and Laura.
It's too bad there's not some kind of device where we could have a program where you can just type in some questions and come up with answers pretty quickly.
Yeah, if only we had access to instant knowledge.
Yep.
But that would probably be like in some weird future movie with like crystals and spinning rings and Morlocks and shit. But it doesn't seem like much of a stretch even throughout this movie, which is fucking stretching everything. But it just doesn't seem like Jack was far from killing his family from the start. It's not like we're watching the corruption of a good man. Like he's ready to end these people pretty much from the beginning. Like even as he's driving his family up the hill, we can just see that look like, you hear that? He saw it on the TV. It's like even then when he's got those friggin' devil brows going on, it's just like, he's about a bottle of tequila away from chucking that kid off the ridge.
Yeah.
And just making the rest of the drive up there. And if the wife screams, she's next.
So I just looked it up. I checked it out on the Googles, and they were played by Lisa and Louise Burns, who are identical twins.
So why would they mention that they were 8 and 10 instead of saying he killed his twin girls?
Yeah.
Like, again, why this intentional misdirect? Kubrick knows he hired twins.
Exactly. Like, why not just say twins? I know, it doesn't make any sense, but who cares? I guess it doesn't really matter.
And then there was the scene where Jack is, like, having a friggin' nightmare at the typewriter. And then Danny comes into the room, the strangulation marks around his neck. Like, I mean, I don't want to play Jack's advocate here, but Shelley just goes off the chain like, how could you hurt him? How could you do this? When she's the one that woke Jack up from a deep slumber.
But didn't they mention, wasn't it said that he actually did injure Danny before?
Years ago,
yeah.
Yes. But this time he was like dead asleep. It's not like he was like awake at his typewriter where he could have like, hurt Danny and then like run to his typewriter to pretend that everything is okay. Like this guy was found in a deep slumber, like having a friggin' traumatic nightmare. And then Danny comes in from the other end of the room. So like instead of even asking like what happened to you, she just goes off on him, which is totally uncalled for. Like, yes, how many suspects are there in a room in a hotel where it's just them? But at least like ask what happened, because who knows, maybe he was like trying to make like a fort full of like blankets draped over cords, and then he like fell on a cord and like wrapped around his neck and he got himself out of it. Like, who knows? Like he's a friggin' 6-year-old kid. He could have fucked himself up. I mean, like, ask him.
It sounds like you just described a scene from one of the Naked Gun movies or something.
Well, like, come on, like, you know the kind of shit that boys get into. There's a reason that like men have a higher mortality rate than women. Like, we're fucking idiots. We will do goofy shit.
True story.
Like, we will do goofy shit.
Oh my God!
It's like we do not have a proper understanding of our own mortality.
Yeah.
You just have to look on YouTube to see those stunt videos. How many times do you see women think, I'm gonna go jump on a railing right between my cooch? Yeah. No. But you'll see guys do it on their skateboard.
There's a reason why it costs more for it to insure a man than it does a woman. There's good reason behind it.
Yeah, they've got the numbers backing them up. We are a fucking liability.
So, on that note, do we have anything else to say about the movie itself?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like at one point, the steward, the hotel guy, he shows them the Snowcat, and he says, "Do you both drive? Well, you shouldn't have any problem operating this since, it operates like a car." Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'd like to say no, because it looks like it should operate like a fucking tank, because it's got treads.
That was a line that was put in by somebody that's never driven that before.
It's like, treads and wheels do operate very, very differently.
Yep. That's a good way to run into something, to tell somebody it operates like a car.
It's like, where's the steering wheel? Well, funny thing, it doesn't have a wheel because there are no tires. Mm-hmm. And then, there's like more racist allusions in here. Like even before, like even if you think that the former groundskeeper, he's the racist one because he tells him that Danny's calling an N-word over here. No, when Jack's drinking at the bar with Lloyd, he talks about, like, he throws this thing in for what seems to be no reason at the time. He's talking about the white man's burden. And I'm like, what the hell does this apply to? It's not like he mentioned being a teacher, but it's not like he's like, even if he was like a shitty substitute teacher in an inner city school surrounded by black kids that he just can't relate to with their jive talking. It's like, no, he's just like it's as white outside as it is inside. And he's talking about the white man's burden while drinking and talking to Lloyd the bartender. And I'm like, this just took me out of the movie. It's like, was I spacing out? Was there a scene where like he was like dismissive or angry at the cook? It's like he didn't have any problem with the chef, so what is this burden? Yeah. I mean, I know of the story of the white man's burden, which is bullshit, but like, where was it in the movie? Mm-hmm. And then again, like, I had to put a note here just for the duration. Jack gets his instructions to kill the family at the 90-minute mark. And this is a 2.5-hour movie, which means that we're dealing with a 50-minute climax, which is something only Sting should be capable of.
Oh my god. Oh, Jesus. Mike.
Hey, I'm informed. And one last thing is, I listened to the credits all the way to the end, and this is the first time I heard applause in a credit song, because it was a live recording rather than a studio thing.
Oh, really? See, I didn't listen to the whole thing. Once we saw, to zoom in on the picture and you saw Jack, that was pretty much it for me.
No, I was writing notes and everything afterwards, so I let it run. And I was just like, wait a second, is there a deleted scene or something? Then I went back to, like, why was I hearing applause? It's like, no, it's just as the song ends, then it's like applause, and then it's not even like a live recording in as much as like it cuts out in the middle of the applause. The applause dies out, and you hear people like shuffling about, like they're leaving the place.
Right. Okay.
And I'm like, that is like a super live recording where it's just like, the song's over. Fuck it.
So there is one thing that I want to mention when it comes to just some extra points about this movie. And it kind of goes back to what I said about the movie not really being scary. There's not a lot of death in this movie. What you see in regards to death is ones that already happened. Like, the place is full of ghosts and everything, but you're not going to see much death on the screen itself.
Yeah, which takes us to my kill of the week. Winner by default.
Gee, I wonder what it could be.
We get to see Scatman get the axe, man.
Yep.
And it is, like as we've alluded to, an example of his absolute fucking waste of talent, that he's got this amazing psychic power and that he's supposed to be tied in with the hotel and see the past and the present and the future and not see his own grisly end as Jack comes from around a corner and just like fucking lays an axe right through his ribs. Mm-hmm. And just like the look of surprise on his face, I'm just like, really? You have no right to be surprised, you stupid son of a bitch.
Yep.
You should have been like talking. You should have been in constant psychic communication with Danny. The second he said you were in danger, the second you got he was in danger, you should have been like, "Why are you calling out with your mouth?" like you established. I used to have conversations with my grandmother without saying a word. So why the fuck were you announcing your location? If you know there's danger, shut the fuck up and talk to him on your silent walkie-talkie.
There you go.
Like, so, I wouldn't call it a good kill. Like, if we had at least seen how, like, the twins got killed, that's probably a more interesting kill than this. But it's the only one we get to see. So, congratulations, Scatman. You won the race by standing at the starting line. You didn't fall backwards, so you win.
Good job.
So now I'm done. What can we talk about that's not this movie?
Well, funny you should ask, because we actually got an email question from a fan of the show. Claire M. writes to us and says, what does she say? Let me open the email first. That'd be a good place to start.
Yeah, you shouldn't be asking me since you're the one with the email.
Claire says, hi guys,
Claire,
loving the show. Thanks for that.
Swear.
One question for you both. What is your favorite horror movie?
Wow, coming in hot.
Well, first of all, Claire, thanks so much for your question. Mike, you want to start this off?
Oh, sure. I guess I have to say, like, one of the earliest horror movies I remember watching that really made an impact and let me know that, like, I really fucking love being scared is Dracula, 1958, the first appearance of Christopher Lee. This movie, even before you see a person, already strikes horror in you with its amazing score and gothic font, and you get to see like the stone eagle, and it pans across this beautiful castle, and it's like you're already feeling hairs rising on you just with this powerful ba-na-na, da-da-da, bum-bum-bum, da-da-da-da, and it is just atmosphere and presence before a person even shows up. Mm-hmm. And it got your attention, and then we get to hear about how Dracula's this bad dude, and then, bam, when he shows up, he's all distinguished and sexy as fuck, because Christopher Lee is awesome, and then when he shows up after the wife tries to bite Harker, and then we get to see Dracula, the monster, not the distinguished not the distinguished lord of the manor, but the monster everyone fears. And it's not like fantastic makeup or anything, just him with the fangs and the bloodshot eyes and the blood. Like, this man has just come off of a feed. And when he takes on Harker, and he's just got that bloodshot eyes just towering him, just overpowering him, it is just a great movie from start to gory finish with his fantastic flashy destruction. Mm-hmm. It is just it is what a horror movie should aspire to. Presence and atmosphere over gore, but not devoid of it.
That's a good one. That's a good answer, because that is probably my favorite interpretation of Dracula. I know they deviated from the source material quite a bit, even more than the Universal Dracula did, but...
Oh, I cannot respect that Dracula.
Oh, shut up. Come on.
He is so swishy.
You actually made my eye twitch.
You see the blood. It is the life.
Anyway, I'll kick your ass for that later. But, no, I agree. This was a great interpretation of Dracula. Christopher Lee is just amazing. Peter Cushing is awesome in this. That's a good answer. Now, when I first told you about this email, right off the bat, you had your answer. I had a little more of a problem coming up with an answer for that, because...
You have a much higher horror pedigree than I do.
Well, I guess that's one way of putting it. I guess I can't say what my favorite horror movie is. Sorry, Claire, if that's a bit of a cop-out. But, because for me, horror is such a broad topic. I have, like, several subgenres of horror. I could say which horror movie had the most impact on me when I first saw it, and that was probably The Exorcist, because I was very young when I saw it. It was very original. It was one of the first movies that actually scared me, and because this is not somebody that does anything stupid that ends up, goes to the wrong place or does something wrong. This girl did nothing wrong. She was at home, a place where you're supposed to be safe, and this just awful thing happens to her. So I guess that one had the most impact on me, I could say. But as for my favorite horror movie, when it comes to my favorite, that's just too broad of a question. I can't pick just one. I would have to pick one from each subcategory. But that's actually not a bad thing, because at the beginning of this episode, I said I'm excited about some announcements that we had to make, and We might as well announce them right now. Since I posed this question to Mike, we talked about it, and we have broken the horror category down into 10 subcategories. We probably could have went more, but we stuck with 10. And we are going to give each of our favorite horror movies from each of the 10 subcategories that we picked, and we are going to do that as a Patreon bonus. If you are a Patreon member, you're going to have access to this episode where we give our 10 favorite horror movies, one for each subgenre, plus another Patreon bonus that is connected with this episode. We are going to talk more about The Shining because there is so much more to talk about. There's so many more behind the scenes things, some things about the director, some things that happens on the set, and plus we also need to talk about the other Shining movie, which is a made-for-TV miniseries that was executive produced by Stephen King that is much more faithful to his novel. There's a ton more to talk about.
And it's probably about an hour shorter.
I actually think it's longer, but...
Oh my fuck.
Because it's broken up into 3 sections, I think, it might be a little easier to take it that way. But yeah, we're very excited. This is going to be some of our... We actually do have another Patreon bonus from our very first episode, Fright Night, that we haven't loaded yet. So... It looks like we're going to have, within a short amount of time, 3 Patreon bonuses for anyone that's a Patreon supporter of the show. It's very exciting. I cannot wait to get these finished and get them uploaded. You're going to see them very soon, so I hope you will enjoy. So, Mike, you have anything to add to this?
Well, we want to thank Claire for asking the question, and for, well, if you want your answer, it's going to cost you. So, thanks for bringing out this dark side in us.
Hey, we got to get paid. We don't have to, but, it helps. But yeah, and with Patreon, any donation is appreciated. It can be as much as $1, and there's no levels to it. No matter what if you make the minimum donation, which is $1, to as high as you want to go, you're going to get access to everything. So yeah, it is certainly a very exciting time for us. We cannot wait to get this loaded, and we hope you guys will enjoy it. So that's all the coverage we have for The Shining for this episode, but we're not quite done just yet because we want to hear from you. Just like Claire did, she emailed us at thegraveyardshiftpod@gmail.com. If you have a question for us...
And she can get the answer to her reply at patreon.com/graveyard.
I think she got it. She got an answer technically. If she just wants details, she has to pay for it, okay?
I love the idea that we can get into the habit of just taking our listeners' mail hostage. It's like, you can ask us any question you want, but if you really want an answer, well, it's on the other side of this paywall right here.
Hey, she asked for one, okay?
We just started and we're already flexing.
You get one for free, the others you have to pay for. But if you have any questions, a movie suggestion, you just want to say hi, we certainly want to hear from you. Once again, you just email us at graveyardshiftpod@gmail.com. You can reach out to us on Twitter at GYS_horrorpod. We're on Facebook at The Graveyard Shift Pod. And if you are not opposed to giving us gifts of money, you can do so at www.patreon.com/graveyard.
And if the idea of a monthly subscription, you can make a one-time reward-free PayPal donation. Where can we do that?
All you need to make a PayPal donation is just use our email address. Once again, it's graveyardshiftpod@gmail.com. That's all we have to say for this episode. One last thing. Mike, why don't you tell them what we got in store for next week?
We already started getting listeners. Well, I guess now they start asking us questions and making requests and stuff, which is kind of what we asked for, so we have no one to blame but ourselves. We have... Who recommended our next movie?
This was fan of the show, Robin P.
Well, Robin P., thanks to you, we will be watching The Blob.
Yes.
What year did they request?
The 1980s version.
Ooh, so I guess Steve McQueen can go suck it. Was Steve McQueen the guy from the 50s
It was.
one?
He played the 30-year-old teenager.
It's nice to know that Hollywood has always kept that trend alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've been doing that for a while. So yes, next week, The Blob. Thanks for your suggestion, Robin. And until then, I'm Sheldon,
And I'm Mike.
and we'll see you next time on The Graveyard Shift. And of course, if it's possible that you can make a monetary... Oh my god, what the fuck's wrong with me?
If you want to make a monastery donation, we will be taking large buildings at
Okay, ready?
3, 2,